Welcome back to the show. We got a great one lined up for you, ladies and gentlemen. Ripple in Japan flipping the switch. I tell you, we got so much to talk about. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and DigPerspectives.com for exclusive content. You can also join us in Patreon or in the Freedom Zone on YouTube by clicking the join button under any title. Either place you want to join, and you can also join on the subscription on X as well. Get all the same extra content, all your daily videos with zero Google ads. I tell you, that itself is worth the price of admission, less than the cost of a cup of coffee per month. Great way to support the channel. We're super appreciative. $3.83 trillion market cap for crypto. The market's off 7.1 now going into the weekend, which means we may be bleeding even heavier as we move into the weekend. But don't worry, I bought the dip. 115,400 plus for Bitcoin, 3,600 for XRP. I'm sorry, I wish it was 3,600 for XRP. It's 3,600 for plus for Ethereum, and XRP is at $3. And I believe very soon we will overtake the number 2 spot for Ethereum, and we will keep it once we do. We've done it again. We did it back in 2018, ranging between 291 and 313. I bought the dip early this morning at 297. Yeah. You let it dip again. I'll be selling the kitchen sink if I got to. I might even sell our cat. I don't know. No, I can't sell the cat. I love the cat. I can't. Anyway, I wanted to tell you about this. It's Caleb and Brown, crypto brokerage. And I tell you, this is a great place that you want to check out and see if it's right for yourself. All you have to do is go to xrpwealth589.com. xrpwealth589.com. Essentially, you get free institutional grade custody, no hidden fees, no hidden spreads, multiple layers of security, and human white glove customer service. Whether it's a technical issue or you want to speak to a prime broker, they are there for you. There is no other entity out here in the digital asset space that provides this level of human customer service. I'm telling you, I've been here for 8 years, and this is where it is. And I tell you, they have one flat fee for that customer service, and it makes sense to me. I explained the story this morning. I'll do it again real quick. I was hacked in 2023. And let me tell you, I would have given so much at that time to have been on Caleb and Brown, because not only do you get the multiple layers of security, but because you have that human representative that you can speak to. When you're setting your account up, you could put extra restrictions above and beyond the multiple layers of security that they offer already. You could put special restrictions on your account. So if you do make a mistake from your end, a SIM card swap or some kind of thing you clicked on you shouldn't have, which is what happened to me years ago, I'm telling you, this is the level of comfort I'm looking for. Security, safety is the new sexy at my house. It's not boring, and the boring is new sexy at my house. That's what I want. Security and safety as we move into these new times. You can get it here, xrpwealth589.com, and click and get your account open for free today while you're able to. BDACS, XRP now live. Okay, now this is a Korean exchange that has added XRP, and we know South Korea is a massive market for XRP, no question about it. If not the biggest, I tell you, they have a voice. Shout out to my South Korean XRP fam over there. And look at Coinbase saying we're bringing everything. The everything exchange is what we're building. Really? Uphold's doing that too. I'm going to play a piece of this, and basically what they're talking about, millions of assets available to you, including tokenized equities. This means tokenized stocks and bonds and other derivative products are all coming on chain. This is where the world is going in short order, ladies and gentlemen, and the amount of money that's going to flood into this space is going to be incredible. And to speak to that a little bit, the CBOE bids to fast track $8 billion of XRP ETF demand, which will create an investment boom. That's the level of demand for the products for XRP. Yeah, 17 to 20, waiting, just waiting to come online, right? Don't lose sight of the automated market makers, right? It's amazing what's in front of us. And all this stuff is all still good news. Or how about treasury companies? The corporate treasuries adding XRP. We've seen 8 in the last few weeks. And just 8 companies took $1 billion worth of XRP off the market. You know, I did a little fun grok conversation and said, you know, ballpark for me, you know, about how much XRP is loose on the exchanges, how much loose liquidity of XRP is out there. And grok had stated something like 15 billion, you know, which at $3 is about 5 billion XRP floating around on the exchanges. So for about $15 billion, whenever it suits the banks, they can come in and wipe out all the liquidity of XRP for right around 15 billion bucks. Think of it for a moment. Now, I see moments like this where the dip's happening. This is where the institutions will start buying. They try to buy, and as the price comes up, then you'll see people sell off, retail sell off, and some of it will be institution. But the larger thing is when these dips happen on these sell-offs, that's where the institutions come in and buy these, scalp these dips. Well, that's what I've been doing, stacking my pennies next to their dollars. Now, here's XRP price if Ripple becomes an XRP Treasury company. So just looking at Ripple becoming an XRP Treasury firm, we recently analyzed how XRP price could react to this development. And if you go through this, there's growing talk within the crypto circles that Ripple could change its business strategy from and become an XRP Treasury company, much like what MicroStrategy did with Bitcoin. Right now, Ripple holds 40.67 billion XRP, or 41% of the total supply in a locked escrow, worth around 122 billion. Interestingly, this is more than MicroStrategy's Bitcoin holdings, which stands at 628,791 Bitcoin, valued at 72.6 billion. So Ripple doesn't put XRP on their balance sheet to date. So if they were to do that, it would be the largest company to speak of, and it would create the largest IPO in history. Now, ChatGPT presents several bullish outcomes. In one scenario, XRP becomes a global reserve asset for cross-border payments. Global markets, these payments are worth 150 trillion each year. So notably, if XRP secures just 1%, that as reserve capital, it could push XRP's market cap to 1.5 trillion. And this would put the XRP price at about $25.29. So come down here, another projection on institutional demand. If Ripple's pivot leads to large-scale buying from banks, funds, corporations, similar to what happened with Bitcoin in 2020-21, XRP's market cap could grow to 2.5 trillion, and then that could push the price to $42.15. And then here you see a 2.7 market cap for XRP, which would be 10% of these $27 trillion idle liquidity accounts in the world for cross-border, would push us to a $45 plus XRP. So that's the kind of the kind of direction I do believe that we're headed. How much of this market do we capture? I don't know. None of us can know. But we know that we don't need to capture the entire market to be enormously successful. And isn't that fantastic news? And meanwhile, talk about capturing markets, XRP to become the backbone of the tokenized real estate in Japan. And look at this, Mitsubishi Financial Group, MUFG, they've been tied to Ripple for a long time, is getting ready to tokenize real estate using blockchain infrastructure on the XRP ledger. You know, Japan is so critical, right? Look, if you haven't seen my first video this morning, please go watch it. I never ask you to do this, but please go watch it because I break down why I believe the code is cracked about the new Bretton Woods. And in direct relationship to Keynesian economic model that we're currently living in right now, to the Austrian economic model, to where we're going, why it matters, and why digital assets are a part of the absolute critical part of how that is going to change the rest of the world, the way we run. Now, with that being said, let's come back to understanding that All the countries and their governments and their central banks are connected by the hip these days, especially the relationship between Japan and the United States, because Japan holds an enormous amount of U.S. treasuries. And not to mention, if you go all the way back to the mid 80s, 1985, with the Plaza Accord, what was the Plaza Accord is where they devalued the U.S. dollar, and they were at the Plaza Hotel, is why it was called the Plaza Accord, which is why you hear me say we're going to have a new Plaza Accord, but it'll be called the Mar-a-Lago Accords. And I believe that is the moment we're in. And Japan is a critical player in this moment because they do hold so much U.S. treasuries, as well as understanding that Japan's currency and interest rate has been teetering below 0.0 and just above zero for the last 20 to 30 plus years. It's more than 30 years at this point, I believe. So going all the way back to 1985, the Plaza Accord is where they devalued the U.S. dollar to take the stress off of other countries like France, Germany, Japan, and a couple others. Now we fast track to where we are today. Now, we had this conversation Wednesday night in the DPMG, where you hear people talk about the reverse carry trade. What is the reverse carry trade? It is in this particular conversation where we're talking about people, governments, countries, players, institutions will come in and borrow against the 0% yen, which means I can borrow that for 0%, take a large portion of that money and borrow it and move it into another market. Doesn't matter what other market, that I can apply that money and make a small percentage gain in the FX market off of that. So in other words, I'm borrowing the yen at 0% for nothing because it costs me nothing, and then going into another currency market where I can make a slight gain. However, if it changes and they raise that rate, everybody who's in that trade, that carry trade, will now be upside down. And they will have to reverse that carry trade. And reversing that carry trade could cause the entire house to collapse and come down. Now, I realize this article is talking about tokenizing real estate on the blockchain for XRP Ledger, but I'm highlighting it because there's so much more that we're going to talk about this. Like this, Japanese financial giant reveals major XRP and Ripple plans, ETFs, and real USD, and also hints to an IPO for Ripple. Japanese firm SBI, now we're not talking about MUFG anymore, so this is a coordinated effort between both entities here. Holdings are released as new investors' presentation revealing significant developments related to XRP and Ripple, from ETF proposals and stablecoin initiatives to Ripple's expanding global footprint. The report outlines the future that could strengthen XRP's position in regulated finance. Now, Rath Common called attention to it, and he has some incredible slides that he shows, and we'll take a look at a few of those in just a second. But among the most notable is SBI's proposal to launch crypto assets ETFs on the Tokyo Stock Exchange. This would directly put products like explicitly linked to XRP on the Tokyo Stock Exchange. How amazing is that? So 2 ETF models were proposed: hybrid digital plus gold and crypto assets trust allocating over 51% to gold ETFs and 49% to ETFs like Bitcoin. So meanwhile, the second proposed product involves dedicated ETFs, which would include assets like Bitcoin XRP. SBI noted this product will be listed on the Tokyo Stock Exchange, Japan, to formally incorporate XRP as well. So let's look at some of these things, because the real USD is going to be used as well. And I have these diagrams from Rath Common where this article came from. So just to source this out a bit here, some details about SBI cites Ripple payments in use by 100 plus financial institutions across 55 countries. The difference, this is different than the OFT cited 300 financial institutions, which may be using other products. So it says here, all of that, you can see it right here. I'm not going to read it again for you, but the real USD is highlighted as well. I should highlight this. The US dollar-backed stablecoin issued under the trust license from NYDFS, real USD, is also expected to be used as a collateral for other purposes at Hidden Road, major prime broker acquired by Ripple. So there you have that. Discussions are underway with SBI VC Trade regarding the handling of RLUSD as well. So we talked about the crypto gold asset products, ETFs, to be introduced. They will be listed on the Tokyo Stock Exchange. And then you see here a breakdown. SBI Group seeks business expansion with two types of stable coins, USD backed and Japanese yen backed. Now, this is where I remind everybody we have the Singapore stablecoin, 2 euro stablecoins. We have multiple dollar stablecoins, including the real USD. This is the expansion and proliferation that we want to continue to see around the world. We want to see all the dollars from all the countries of the world represented on the XRP ledger, because this is how you start to make markets. And this is where XRP eventually, when they get the permission domain amendment passed, then you're going to start to see en masse everyone come to the public DEX and start using it as to make trades, and XRP will be used en masse, I believe, for long tail pairings. So, because it has a privileged position on the XRP ledger, right? So, still the best infographic, says Rathacommon, the total XRP circulating supply, updated. SBI Holdings fiscal year end of report. You can see 36 billion left in escrow is what I wanted to show. And it shows it right here, and he writes it. So what's interesting is 35.9 billion approximately left under escrow. And this is why I don't think they'll release all of it out into the wild. I think there is some value in holding it back, exactly the way Miguel Villas used to discuss it when he was the head of XRP Global Markets. And I think they do hold some of this back, not to mention how much of this is earmarked already for other governments and countries around the world, right? I mean, escrow by definition does mean holding funds for a third party. Maybe it belongs to the US and the IMF, right? Wouldn't that be interesting? Or how about the idea that while all of this is going around and understanding how sensitive the relationship is between Japan and the United States, that it makes perfect sense that Ripple and Japan would be setting the stage to integrate XRP into their financial system in multiple ways, as we just covered, because it is such a deep connection to U.S. debt and their bond market. And the reverse carry trade collapsing could cause real problems, systemic, all around the world. It makes sense that in lieu of all of that, Ripple is moving on a banking license, potentially tapping into that $21.5 trillion market. XRP could be heading to $382 plus soon. And that's if they capture the total market, I'm imagining, from that statement from Amonix. But the real deal here is exactly what they're saying here. And I don't want to play this because it has music in it, and I'm not sure if it's copywritten. But we know that they're going for this banking license. It is the coveted Office of Comptroller of Currency, National Chartered Banking License, as well as the Federal Reserve Master Account. And it would make sense that they're doing that because we know that Japan is in a very critical moment that can cause the entire market globally to collapse. And whoever would be selected to solve such problems, because Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says, while I just explained all of that to you, the U.S. Treasury Secretary says we're exploring new possibilities, ladies and gentlemen, in decentralized computing and digital payments to unlock the potential of blockchain technology. And I say to everyone here, and whoever would be selected to help solve these problems for the U.S. government and Treasury will probably need a bank license and a Federal Reserve master account, you know, just like the one that Ripple are doing right now. When it comes to money, nothing is left to chance. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. I'll catch all of you on the next one.